let's derive our last equation of accelerated motion here. The key to this one is looking at equation 1 this time. Equation 1 says that delta D is going to be equal to Vf plus Vi over 2 times the time. Now the key here is solving for T. What I want to do is rearrange this equation and get T by itself. In order to do that, this whole term here, let's just pretend this is some number, okay? Pretend this is the number 5. If I had 5 times T, and I wanted to get rid of that 5, I would divide by 5, okay? But unfortunately, I don't have 5. I've got this nasty monster here. But that's okay. I'm just going to divide by that term. And if I do that, I've got to do that the same thing on the other side. So I'm dividing. So when I divide, any term that's being multiplied cancels. On the right-hand side, which I'm going to write on the left now, I know that T is going to be equal to this monster right here. When I take some number and I divide by a fraction, there's a rule that says I can take that fraction, flip it on its head, and multiply instead of dividing. And that's what I'm going to do here. So what I do is I flip that fraction, okay, so I have 2Vf plus Vi, right, and I multiply by D. Okay, so at this point, I know I can simply multiply 2 times D. So that's sort of the first step. Take equation 1, rearrange it, solve for T. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sub T into equation 2. Okay, so from equation 2, I know equation 2 is Vf equals Vi plus At. Now what I'm going to do is just take my T term here, and I'm going to jam it into my equation for T. When I do that, I have Vf equal to Vi plus A times this monstrous T here. Okay, so times 2D over Vf plus Vi. Now, using my distributive property, I know here that I can just write this as 2A times D over Vf plus Vi. So my goal here is to somehow get a nice, clean expression out of this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this Vi over to the other side of the equation. I don't really like it here. So I know that I can just subtract that over to the other side. This fraction here is really bothering me. I think it's kind of gross. And remember, if I'm dividing by something, if I multiply by the same thing, the top and bottom will cancel. But if I do it on one side, I have to do it the other side. Now, this part, I'm going to just kind of ask you to reflect on your knowledge of FOIL. I can do the first times the first, the outside times the outside, the inside times the inside, and the last times the last. Just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to assume that you know how to expand this using FOIL. So when we use FOIL, we end up with Vf squared minus Vi squared equal to 2Ad. Now, if you take a look at equation 4, this isn't how it's written. It's written as Vf squared equals Vi squared plus 2Ad. Okay, and we get that just by moving this term over to the other side.